Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something really fundamental, raising kids. We want to go beyond, just the usual advice and really look at what psychological science tells us about nurturing children effectively.
Right. Think of it as moving past just intuition or tradition and grounding parenting in actual research.
For this deep dive, we're drawing on a great resource, an article called Positive Parenting Techniques, based on psychological principles from Self-Sensei.
Yeah, it does a nice job of pulling together different psychological theories, all looking at how we can help children really thrive.
So our mission today is pretty clear. Unpack the key insights from this article. We want you to walk away understanding what positive parenting actually involves, why it works from a psychological standpoint, and crucially, how you can actually apply these ideas day to day.
And here's something interesting to start with. Positive parenting isn't just like behavior management 101. It's deeper than that. It's really about fostering a child's core ability to love, to trust, to explore, and to learn, building that solid foundation.
Okay, positive parenting. It sounds good, obviously. But what does it actually mean in practice, when you're dealing with the everyday stuff?
Well, the article defines it as making conscious choices about how you parent. Choices that reflect your values, sure, but also really tune into your specific child.
Meaning their age, their development.
Exactly. Their age, developmental stage, even their unique temperament or personality. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all thing.
So it's really about understanding the individual kid, not just applying generic rules.
Precisely. Empathy is huge, trying to see things from their viewpoint, respect for them as a person, and just being sensitive to what they need.
What are the core elements then?
The article points to a few key things. Really trying to understand their perspective, especially during tough moments, celebrating their strengths, not just zooming in on problems, valuing that connection you have, responding sensitively to their cues, and having consistent age-appropriate guidelines.
It sounds like the goal isn't just getting through the day, but actively helping them grow into capable people.
That's exactly it. Equipping them with essential life skills, within your own family's cultural context. And it's not about being perfect either. The article stresses that it's a process.
A process of reflection.
Yeah, reflecting, understanding developmental norms, tweaking your approach, and knowing that mistakes will happen. The key is repairing the connection afterwards. That repair is really powerful.
So where does the positive part come in, psychologically speaking? It's not just about being cheerful.
Right, not just niceness. The positive is because it's grounded in solid psychological science. We're talking attachment theory, learning theories, cognitive development, emotional regulation.
So it has a scientific basis.
Yes, and that's what lifts it beyond just intuition. It becomes an informed practice. It's really an integrative approach, drawing insights from all these different areas of psychology.
The article links this to something called authoritative parenting. What's that about?
Yeah. Diana Baumrein's work from the 60s. She identified different parenting styles, and positive parenting fits really well with the authoritative style.
Okay, and what defines that style?
It's about balance. High demandingness, meaning clear expectations, rules, limits, and high responsiveness, meaning warmth, support, sensitivity to the child's needs.
Kind of firm but fair, or firm but nurturing.
Exactly. Firm but nurturing is a great way to put it. The insight is that kids do best when they have both structure and support. It's that combination.
Not too strict, not too lenient.
Right. Baumrind contrasted it with other styles. Authoritarian is high demandingness, low responsiveness, think strict. Obedience-focused. Permissive is the reverse, high warmth, low limits. And the neglectful is low on both.
And the outcomes for kids tend to differ quite a bit depending on the style.
They really do. Research links authoritarian parenting often to kids with lower self-esteem. Permissive can lead to struggles with self-control. Neglectful, sadly, tends to have the poorest outcomes overall.
But authoritative, the one positive parenting aligns with that, consistently shows better results.
Yes, absolutely. Study after study links it to things like better psychosocial competence, resilience, self-reliance, social skills, even academic success.
Interesting.
And another key point the article makes is about the parent's own state. Your self-awareness, your emotional intelligence, how you handle your own mistakes and repair things, that's all central to this approach. So it's not just techniques applied to the child, it's also about the parent's own growth.
Exactly. It requires that self-awareness and a commitment to your own development, too.
Okay, let's dig into those psychological pillars then. First up, secure attachment. We hear that term a lot. What are the basics?
It goes back to John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. Bowlby argued we're wired to form these deep emotional bonds with caregivers for survival. It's not just about food.
It's about feeling safe and connected.
Precisely. And Ainsworth showed it's the caregiver's consistent responsiveness and nurturance that builds that secure attachment.
And that leads to the idea of a secure base.
Yes. When a child knows their caregiver is dependable, that caregiver becomes a safe haven. This allows the child to feel secure enough to go out and explore the world, knowing they can always return for comfort. Like a home base.
Ainsworth's strange situation study showed different patterns, right?
It did. Secure attachment is when kids might be upset when the parent leaves, but are easily soothed on return. They use the parent as that secure base.
And the insecure types.
There's insecure, ambivalent, very distressed leaving, then maybe clingy or resistant upon return. Insecure avoidant, showing little distress at leaving and avoiding the parent on return. And disorganized, kind of confused, contradictory behaviors, often linked to inconsistent or frightening caregiving.
And these early patterns have long-lasting effects.
Very much so. Secure attachment is linked to so many positive things later: higher self-esteem, empathy, better coping, social skills, emotion regulation, fewer mental health issues. Insecure patterns are associated with more difficulties down the line.
Okay, pillar number 2, learning by example and consequence. This brings in social learning theory and operant conditioning. Sounds like core behavior stuff.
Absolutely fundamental. Let's start with Skinner's operant conditioning. The basic idea is we learn through consequences. Behaviors followed by good stuff reinforcement get repeated. Behaviors followed by bad stuff punishment become less likely.
Right, so positive reinforcement is adding something good, negative is removing something bad, both to increase a behavior, and punishment is adding bad or removing good to decrease a behavior.
You got it. It can get a little confusing with the positive and negative labels, but that's the gist. And positive parenting really leans into reinforcement.
Why is that? Why not punishment?
Well, the article points out major drawbacks to punishment. It might stop a behavior quickly, but it doesn't teach the child what to do instead. It can also breed fear, resentment, even aggression. Reinforcement focuses on building the desired behaviors.
Makes sense. And then Albert Bandura and social learning theory, that's about watching others.
Exactly. Bandura showed we learn a ton just by observing others' models and seeing what happens to them. Kids are constantly watching their parents, siblings, peers, and learning from the consequences those people experience. Vicarious learning, as you said earlier.
The article mentioned things like attention, retention. What are those about?
Those are the cognitive steps involved. First, you have to pay attention to the model. Then you need to remember, retain what they did. Then you need to be able to physically reproduce the action. And finally, you need the motivation to do it, often based on expecting similar consequences.
So our own behavior as parents is a huge teaching tool.
Huge. We're modeling constantly, whether we intend to or not.
Okay, pillar 3, supporting cognitive growth.
Yeah.
This involves Vygotsky, the zone of proximal development. How does this fit in?
Vygotsky focused on how social interaction shapes our thinking. He believed higher mental functions, like problem solving, develop socially first, then become internalized.
Through interaction with others.
Yes, especially with more knowledgeable others, or MKOs, parents, teachers, even capable peers. Learning happened through these collaborative dialogues.
In the zone of proximal development, the ZPD, that's the sweet spot for learning.
Exactly. It's the gap between what a child can do alone and what they can achieve with guidance. Effective parenting and teaching targets this zone, offering challenges that stretch them, but with support.
Which brings us to scaffolding.
Right. Scaffolding is that temporary support you provide: hints, prompts, breaking tasks down that helps the child succeed in their ZPD. And crucially, you gradually fade that support as they become more competent.
Like training wheels on a bike.
Perfect analogy. Vygotsky also really stressed the link between language and thought. Language is the main tool for thinking. That private speech kids use, talking themselves through things, eventually becomes inner thought.
Okay, final pillar. Understanding and managing emotions. Emotional regulation and socialization. This feels critical.
Absolutely critical. Emotion regulation is basically our ability to manage our emotional responses. It's essential for well-being. And parents are the primary emotion socializers.
How so?
Through how we model emotional expression, how we react to their emotions, how we talk about feelings. Our own beliefs about emotions matter a lot too. Do we see them as problems to be squashed or opportunities to understand?
The article mentioned John Gottman's emotion coaching. What's the core idea there?
Emotion coaching views emotions, even tricky ones like anger or sadness, as chances to connect and teach. It involves a few steps: being aware of the emotion, seeing it as an opportunity, listening with empathy, and validating the feeling.
Validating meaning acknowledging it's real for them.
Exactly. Acknowledging the feeling is real, even if the behavior isn't okay. Then helping them label the emotion. And finally, setting limits on unacceptable behavior while helping them problem solve better ways to handle it.
So it's not about saying don't be sad, but I see you're sad. It's okay to feel sad. Hitting isn't okay, though. What else could we do?
Precisely that kind of approach. And notice how these pillars connect. Secure attachment creates safety for learning. Sensitive care uses reinforcement naturally. Scaffolding requires emotional attunement. Positive parenting weaves them all together.
It's like a developmental journey, aiming for the child to internalize these skills.
Right. Parent starts as external regulator, moves to co-regulation, aims for self-regulation, and applying any learning principles works much better within that warm, secure relationship.
Okay, great foundation. Now the how-to. Let's talk practical, positive parenting techniques. Building secure bonds seems like step one.
Definitely. It's about that consistent attunement, reading their cues, comforting distress effectively, being physically and emotionally present, creating predictability. They need to know you're a reliable source of comfort and safety.
And guiding behavior. We talked about shifting from punishment to reinforcement.
Yes. Emphasize positive reinforcement. Catch them being good. Use specific praise. Wow, you put your toys away all by yourself. Tangible rewards can be used sometimes, but focus on intrinsic motivation.
What about things like the Premack principle?
Ah, grandma's rule. First work, then play. First put on your pajamas, then we can read a story. Very effective. And when you do need consequences, lean towards natural or logical ones.
Give us examples.
Natural consequence. Forget your lunchbox. You might feel hungry, if safe, obviously. Logical consequence. Make a mess with paint after being asked to be careful. You help clean it up. The connection should be clear.
And negative punishment, like taking away privileges.
Use it thoughtfully. Needs to be immediate, brief, and related if possible. The bigger focus should be on problem solving together. Why did this happen? What could you do differently next time? Teaching self-regulation, not just imposing control.
Role modeling comes up again. Seems so important.
Hugely important. Modeling kindness, empathy, respect. Modeling how you handle frustration calmly. Modeling good communication, active listening, even apologizing when you mess up. They learn so much by watching us.
And scaffolding learning, putting Vygotsky into practice.
Yeah, targeting that ZPD, providing just enough help hints, prompts, modeling, then stepping back as they get it. Guided discovery, fading support.
Emotion coaching, those 5 steps sound really useful.
They are. Be aware of the emotion, see it as an opportunity, listen and validate. I see you're really frustrated. Help label it. You seem angry. Then set limits while problem solving. It's okay to be angry, but we don't throw things. What's a safer way to show you're mad? That validation plus limits combo is key.
Communication underpins everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Active listening, really tuning in, reflective listening, paraphrasing to check understanding. So you're feeling left out because, speaking kindly, focusing on behavior, not labels. The floor is messy versus you're messy. Helping them name feelings. It all builds connection.
What about setting boundaries? That's a big one for parents.
Essential for security and self-control. The key is firm, kind, and calm. Acknowledge the feeling, I know you want another cookie, but uphold the limit. But the kitchen is closed until dinner. Offer choices within limits. Do you want to put your coat on first or your boots? And follow through consistently.
And finally, fostering autonomy and self-efficacy, encouraging independence.
Yeah, helping them believe in themselves. Give age-appropriate choices. Encourage them to try solving problems first. Let natural consequences happen when safe. Support independent play. Give real responsibilities like chores. Cheer on their exploration. It builds confidence and resilience.
And these techniques all work together, right?
Definitely. Setting a boundary might involve emotion coaching. Logical consequences often lead to problem solving and building autonomy. It's an integrated toolkit.
Okay, it all sounds really positive theoretically, but does the research actually show it makes a difference?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? And yes, the evidence is pretty encouraging. The article mentions meta-analyses showing positive parenting programs boost kids' cognitive skills, like general mental ability and language, especially in younger children.
So that early responsive environment really matters for learning.
It seems to lay a crucial foundation, consistent with Vygotsky and attachment theory. Specific skills might need targeted teaching later, but that early responsive care seems key.
And what about social and emotional outcomes? Behavior.
Strong links there too. Positive and authoritative parenting are consistently associated with better social skills, higher self-esteem, more empathy, better emotion regulation, and fewer behavior problems. That secure attachment foundation really buffers against later risks too.
Now, what about criticisms? The idea that it's just permissive parenting in disguise seems common.
Yeah, that's a big misconception. Positive parenting is not permissive. Permissive is low on demands. Positive parenting, aligning with authoritative, is high on demands, expectations, structure, boundaries, but also high on warmth and responsiveness. It rejects harsh punishment, yes, but it absolutely includes guidance and consequences, like natural logical ones or loss of privileges. The focus is teaching, not just controlling or letting everything slide.
What about for kids with really challenging behaviors? Is it effective then?
The argument is that these principles are even more important then. Techniques like emotion coaching and collaborative problem solving directly target the self-regulation skills these kids often need help developing. Many effective parent training programs for challenging behaviors are actually based on these positive parenting principles.
And the criticism that it's just unrealistic for busy, stressed parents.
Look, it definitely takes effort, patience, self-reflection. It's not always easy to stay calm and coach emotions when you're exhausted. The article acknowledges it's a journey, not perfection. There will be missteps, but the potential long-term benefits for the child and the parent-child relationship are seen as outweighing those challenges. It's about aiming for progress.
Okay, so wrapping up, positive parenting, grounded in psychology, is about warmth, responsiveness, clear guidance, and structure. It builds secure attachment, uses reinforcement, encourages learning through modeling and scaffolding, and develops emotional intelligence via emotion coaching.
Exactly. It's an integrated approach, recognizing how interconnected everything is in a child's development and the huge role parents play in nurturing that growth.
So here's a final thought for you listening. How might shifting from just reacting to your child's behavior to really understanding these underlying psychological principles we've discussed change your approach? How could that deeper understanding strengthen your connection and support their long-term well-being and resilience? Maybe think about one small change inspired by these ideas that you could try out this week.
Something to reflect on.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.